Even if you don't know what to do in your life, there are things, I know this with 100% certainty, there are things that you love, there are things that you enjoy, there are things that you can't stop thinking about, things that you naturally gravitate towards. And there's this famous saying that goes something like, that dream was planted in your heart for a reason. So today I want to talk about something that has been nagging me for a very long time throughout my 20s, and that is my purpose and what I should do with my life. And I think this is a problem that a lot of young people face, but it can also be something that affects people way into their 30s or 40s or 50s. Some people might never figure this out and struggle with it. And I took longer with that than anybody I know, at least. Eventually, I did find some answers, and I would say that today, I'm 38 today, and I am today in a place in my life where I'm content, where I'm joyful, and where I kind of feel like I'm starting to figure out my shit, you know? And so I think the most important thing to do when you are lost in life and you don't know what your purpose is and what you should be doing for the rest of your life, because let's face it, that is a huge decision. And it is usually also about how you're going to make your money, what you're going to turn into your career, which is sad in its own right that we as human beings need to make decisions according to what will make us money. Like capitalism really has such a strong hold on us. But the first thing I would do if I was lost, and I was lost, is to do something that one of my favorite authors, Charles Eisenstein, has said. And he said, with anything in life, the first important step is to acknowledge that you don't know. You need to acknowledge that you do not know. And in this case, you need to accept the fact that you are lost. Saying out loud, I am lost, I don't know what to do, is the first step to being found. I took a lot of time to figure this out. And this was not, I really need to spell it out loud here, that this is not coming from a place of rich parents who supported me throughout. I mean, I have fantastic parents. I have great parents who always supported me. But it is important to note that I always had to make a living. I always had to work for this luxury to figure out what I want to do with my life. And it is a luxury. We need to remember that we in the industrialized world, it's such a luxury to be able to choose what we're going to do with our lives. Come on, that is a second step I just came up with. Be grateful that you get to choose. But then in the third step, don't feel guilty. Don't feel guilty for the fact that you don't know what to do with your life. Because this is difficult stuff. Like, this is something that potentially you're going to do for the rest of your life. So it deserves your attention and it deserves a lot of consideration. And I think that is absolutely fine. I think it's also very important to point out that most people are not like Jane Goodall comes to mind. So Jane Goodall knew from when she was a child and read Tarzan for the first time that she wanted to be that Jane, Tarzan and Jane. She wanted to be that Jane who lives in the jungle with all those animals. And from an early age on, she knew that she wanted to go to Africa. Dogs barking now. She wanted to go to Africa to study animal behavior. She just knew. There was a guy I went to high school with, and he knew all his life that he was going to be a doctor. He just knew. And I was never like that. I was never like that. And I tried to be. And whenever I was asked what I wanted to be, when I'm grown up, I would say stuff. But when I was actually grown up and I got to try out new things, all those things, I realized that that was actually not me. I wonder if the neighbor's dog is going to be barking now for the entire time. Hey! Sorry, the neighbor's dog was just throwing tantrums over there, so I just gave him a couple of minutes. But yeah, here comes the solution of what I suggest you do if you don't know what to do in life. And what I did is I followed my curiosity, because I didn't have what Jane had and what my high school friend had. I didn't have this one thing that I wanted to do in my life. If anything, I am multi-passionate. I have so many different things that I'm interested in. And I think that's also why it took me so long, because I was curious about so many different things that I wanted to try out, so many different lives I wanted to live. And in that regard, to me, it made complete sense that eventually I would turn towards storytelling, and that I would eventually become a writer, because that allows me to research all these different topics and all these different lives and put on all these different hats for a while. So for me, that made perfect sense. And so even if you don't know what to do in your life, there are things, I know this with 100% certainty, there are things that you love. There are things that you enjoy. There are things that you can't stop thinking about, things that you naturally gravitate towards. And there's this famous saying that goes something like, that dream was planted in your heart for a reason. And now we're back to this big sort of dream purpose thing, but it doesn't have to be that big. It is literally more like a spark or several sparks. There is things that you naturally gravitate towards, things you enjoy, things you often think about. And those are the things you should follow. Those are the things that will get you unstuck and that will eventually lead to being found. Now, should you turn that into a career? Great question. I did eventually turn my art, my writing, my storytelling into my career, and that is sort of the only way I would know how to live. I don't believe in separating. I don't have work-life balance, basically. I don't believe in separating my work from my personal life. To me, that is all intertwined, and I enjoy that. And it's not perfect. I think that's also what you'll come to find. Either way, it's not going to be perfect. You might decide to turn that thing you love into your career, and that comes with burnout, and that comes with maybe not enjoying that thing you love as much anymore. And that's why it's totally valid if you decide not to, and rather just find a job that doesn't completely suck to survive in this capitalistic society that we live in, and have a lot of free time to enjoy the things that you enjoy. But the most important thing I want to get across with this video is also that, and this is kind of a revelation for me, because I have always been chasing a purpose. Up until recently, if you had asked me what my values are, there would have been three. There would have been love, freedom, and purpose. And recently, I have officially scratched purpose from that list, because I think it is a trap. I don't think we need it. And I also think it is so dangerous for everyone to be chasing what Jane was chasing or what my high school friend was chasing, because we don't all have that. We don't all have that. And, that leads to what Elizabeth Gilbert calls purpose anxiety. And I love that word, because there's a lot of people out there who don't just have this one purpose. And I honestly think purpose is not the purpose of our life. I don't think that's true anymore. So Elizabeth Gilbert, I watched a talk with her once, where she told the story about, I think she was in Santa Monica, and she told the story about, she was walking down the streets and maybe she was preparing for some speech or some event or something, and she was thinking about purpose. And then on the sidewalk, there was this guy up on a ladder doing window works or whatever. And the ladder looked really unstable. And so she, it was like without question, she stopped and held the ladder while this guy was doing his work. And then it occurred to her, as she was standing there holding the ladder, what if this is my purpose? What if the whole purpose of my life was to be here at this moment in time, to hold the ladder for this guy so that he doesn't fall off? And what I want to tell you goes along the same lines. I think it's not that deep. I think it is not that deep. It doesn't matter what you do for a job. It doesn't matter what you do for a living. It matters what you do for a life. It matters how you approach every day. It matters who you care about, and it matters what you care about. And it matters that you go through this life with kindness and respect towards other people and towards animals and this planet. I think that matters so much more. And Elizabeth Gilbert said, in her speech, she also said, first of all, if you do that and you live every day with kindness and with respect and with these little moments of joy gravitating towards what you're passionate about, the magic will naturally follow. And the other thing she said is that kind of like the universal, the angels or whoever's up there, you know, if there's something we need you to do, you will be notified. And until then, basically all you have to do is hold the ladder. And don't waste too much time thinking about your purpose and this deep meaning of life. The most important thing is to be kind and to love and to try and live every day as best as you can. So that's what I've come to find in my 38 years on this planet. And I have chased purpose and I have chased careers. And I just honestly think that has not led to happiness. And now the neighbor's kids are out playing and the dog has started to bark again. So I am going to stop this now, and I see you back here tomorrow. Remember to subscribe. And until then, bye-bye. You start being super excited about your new endeavor, and you've made a plan, and you have that bit of beginner's luck as well. But then you hit a point where just nothing happens, and that's the dip. And that's where most people quit.